On SmallCapPower today, we're with Frank Basa, President and CEO of Castle Silver Resources, which trades on the venture exchange as CSR. Frank, thank you for being here with us.
Always a pleasure.
So before we get started and talk in detail about Castle Silver, let's talk about your past experiences and your career so that we can get a better understanding of who you are and your leadership of Castle Silver.
Well, I am by profession a metallurgical engineer. I spent a fair amount of time in the Cobalt Camp working for Agnico Eagle Mines. When I was there, we discovered that the majority of the value in the Cobalt Camp was actually in the cobalt, even though we poured silver. So we developed a process at that time to recover the cobalt and actually be able to target a very specific market. At that time, we were producing a cobalt carbonate targeting the animal feed market. But today, we're trying to produce a cobalt sulfate, cobalt hydroxide to target the battery market. So we found a lot of cobalt, and that's why we decided to come back to the Cobalt Camp and acquire these assets, which is a Castle Silver mine and a Beaver mine.
So Frank, I understand that there is a deficit for cobalt that's expected for 2020. Do you think that globally we're preparing enough for it?
There's no way we can meet the demands globally for cobalt. We were actually in Asia a few weeks ago, and we thought we'll give a bit of a tour through there and see what the real demand for cobalt is. So we met with the Japanese trading houses, plus we also met with a manufacturer of electric vehicles in Japan and in China. We spent a lot of time. It appears that the deficit for cobalt is here and now. The general feeling we had, everybody's scrambling for cobalt. They'll be able to build the cars, but nobody will have, one of the main components seems to be cobalt.
Right. Now, Castle Silver is in a very historic district. Can you describe where you are and why you're positioned to succeed out of your district peers?
Actually, where we are is actually called the Cobalt Camp. The Cobalt Camp itself is actually quite a large camp. Its primary metal over the years has been silver, but the actual primary metal is cobalt. So what we've done is we've picked up some of the old assets that Agnico had, and we started about 6 years ago. Castle had the main asset for Agnico at that time, had the highest grade silver and the best cobalt values, and the other property we picked up was called the Beaver property. So what we have is infrastructure, a very good system of roads, there's power around, very good qualified people to work in the area, and the way we picked up our assets, we have access to the underground workings. At Castle, I think we have the only open adit in the camp, which gives us the ability to take large bulk samples of cobalt-bearing material.
Right. And you're the only company doing that? How are you most advanced among your peers?
Well, we're a little more advanced than us because we started earlier than anybody else, but I think the other ones will eventually catch up, but it takes time. To get a simple permit to go underground took us 16 months. It cost us about $300,000, so now we have access to the underground. By having access to the underground, you can take better samples, actually do a better drill program, and you can move a lot faster, a lot further than people who just showed up recently.
Now in 2017, a popular theme is cobalt and technology. How is Castle Silver advancing that theme?
Well, what we've done is we're actually also, in addition to doing exploration and grabbing bulk samples from underground, we also initiated a test program to produce basically salts, or what they call cobalt sulfates and cobalt hydroxide, specifically for the lithium-ion battery market.
So what does all that mean? Break it down for us. It's so complicated.
Well, it's basically the batteries have to have cobalt in a certain form. And they can't have it as a metal, so basically they have to have it as a cobalt sulfate or a cobalt hydroxide. So we already initiated a program to produce this product for direct use, end use, into the batteries.
Now you're in Ontario.
Yes.
What is the jurisdiction like, and how are the people who are there, who are side by side with you?
Actually, we found working with the First Nations an unbelievably easy opportunity to work with them. Actually, very accommodating, very helpful. And we're very pleased to be able to work with them to the point we actually have a First Nations lady on our board, on the board of directors.
Right.
With the ministry people, we also found them very easy to work with, very easy accessible. Also very busy people, but we seem to have a very good working relationship because a lot of our projects moving forward are in old areas, which requires a great deal of input from the First Nations and from the ministry, and we're able to do things in relatively good time.
Right. Now, often when investors are looking at a company, they're investing in the people. So what about maybe your technological team is notable?
Yeah, what we have is actually some of the best geologists in the camp. One of them has been working with us for about 30 years. And a large degree of success we've been experiencing in the Cobalt Camp is because of this geologist. And also my wife spent 6 years in the camp. and she's
Your wife.
part of the team.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
nice.
part of the team. And the Cobalt Camp requires kind of a special skill set. It's not a simple geological vein structure, but once you work in the camp, you can figure it out, and you can easily be able to develop a resource.
So moving on, what has come up lately for Castle Silver that shareholders should be aware of?
Well, we just finished our first little drill program, and we did about 2,300 meters. We're looking for structures. Basically, we want to make sure the structures are there, and if we can, we'll try to access them from underground. We also took a very large bulk sample, which returned some significant cobalt values. The cobalt values were about 1.5% cobalt to 1.8% cobalt. We also had very high nickel values, which surprised us 8%, and we had a lot of gold in it, which came back at 5.6 grams per ton. So we went ahead and then sampled about 1.7 kilometers of the underground structures, and the average grade came back about 0.5% cobalt, which was quite interesting for us.
Right. So what is next after this?
Well, we'll be doing some more bulk sampling from underground. We'll be trying to apply for a permit to start dewatering the workings. We have about 8 different levels to work on. So there's a huge program being outlined going forward. So the intent is more bulk sampling, more drilling, more test work, produce a product for our Asian buyers, and try to meet their criteria on their spec sheets for the cobalt sulfate and cobalt hydroxide.
Gotcha. Now, lastly, I want to talk to you about merging assets with others. Is that in the near future for Castle Silver?
Actually, it's good that you brought that up, because we have been talking with people in the area, not really to merge the assets, but basically to create something like a trading company, something like a farmers cooperative, whereby everybody still has their own cows, but they send the milk to one area to process, and of course you make
So
butter,
sharing
cheese.
resources.
Yeah, I think that's the best we do, because the camp itself is very, very large, and to be able to feed the Asian market, you have to work together. And the ideal thing is create something like a farmers co-op, and approach it that way, and then approach the Asian people with the product.
All right. Well, Frank, thank you for your time today.
Always a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
To learn more about Castle Silver, you can check out their investor hub on smallcappower.com and also sign up to get company updates on a regular basis. I'm Rachel Lee for SmallCapPower.